Hey guys, it's Sandra from Metal Wani here with Ross from Haken. Thank you so much for joining me today. First of all, the new album Affinity will be out at the end of April. I've heard it and it is absolutely fantastic. So congratulations on creating yet another amazing album.
Thank you so much.
Where did the title Affinity come from, and is there a theme to this album?
Yeah, well, Affinity, the title stems from how we kind of collaborated to make this record. In the past, it's always been Richard, our guitarist, who's written the bare bones of the music, and he's shared it with us, and we've kind of worked on it as a team. But it was always Richard's baby. This time around, we all had an equal share in contributing to the original pieces, the initial ideas. And I think that's kind of relevant to what the final piece is now. It's a mixture of all of us. It's a big cocktail of all our influences and who we are as individual musicians. So Affinity was the best kind of title for that purpose. In on the record itself, lyrically, there are themes that refer to affinity, connection, human connection, kind of cause and consequence, and the evolution, where humans have been and where we're going with technology. It's a lot. There's a lot of things going on, but it's all kind of comes from uh, human connection and affinity.
Cool.
So
Okay. So,
that's where that's yeah. Sorry to overload you there on the first answer,
no, no, it's
but
perfectly
that's
fine.
uh, that's affinity.
Okay. So since you guys do come together on this album and it's your own flavors and stuff, how did the initial writing process start and recording and stuff?
Yeah. So as I said, all of us kind of sat and wrote our own pieces and then put them together. Well, we put it into a pot and we all kind of listened to everything, and we filtered through all that work and found the best kind of pieces to work on. Um, so it was more collaborative in that sense than we've ever been, um, and we took those songs, recorded all our parts in our individual studios. Drums and vocals were done in professional studios, but all the other parts, the guys have their own kind of setups, so they were recorded like that. Um, Diego and Connor live in different countries to us, so obviously Connor's American, and Diego lives in Mexico. So logistically, this was the best way to work when it came to recording. But in the end, yeah, it all came together pretty well, I think.
Okay, fantastic. So, as as per usual for a Haken album, there are a lot of sections that are really intricate and layered, and I mean, there's a lot of syncopated rhythms and odd meters going on. Particularly, something that stands out to me is near the end of Initiate, when you're pretty much doing like this polymetric vocal thing that's really actually pretty cool. I haven't gotten the chance to figure out the meters you're doing yet. Um, so when you're writing in odd meters and syncopation and stuff like that, does it come naturally, or do you sit down and say like, I want to write in this meter?
Um, yeah, I guess it's kind of natural. We have an idea of what we want, and um, that particular section you spoke of was actually Ray's
Hmm.
idea. He's the percussionist, and he's very good with his cross rhythms and such. So yeah, this was an idea he put down, and I worked with. Um, that stuff comes real natural to him, for sure.
Hmm.
Um, it's hard to really say. This stuff just kind of comes out of us. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
Can't really put a formula on it. We don't sit there and say, "Oh, we've got to write a song like this, and it's got to be this way," and it just comes out. And if it sounds good, we'll keep a certain section. If something's not working, we'll work with it and work around it and see what we can do.
Awesome. I mean, when he shows you that stuff, I mean, you said it was his idea. Did he do it melodically? Did you pick it up melodically, or did you have to count out what it was?
Um, he did it melodically, yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it was kind of a copy and learn sort of thing.
Hmm.
um, but then
Okay.
I put some lyrics to it and made it my own.
Yeah. That's awesome. So there are a few sections in Affinity that are clearly very heavily 80s inspired. The track 1985 being an obvious example. What made you
Mm.
decide to create that sound?
Well, this is something we've wanted to do for a while actually, and we've kind of hinted it in previous records, but never as never exploited it in this way before. So it just felt right to give the album a kind of context and a setting, and draw upon those 80s influences that usually get snarled at. People say kind of prog died in the 80s and the synthesizers took over, and I guess that's true to an extent, maybe commercially, but um, these a lot of these prog bands wrote great music in that era, and
Hmm.
I think it gets overlooked. So we wanted to kind of make that a statement, really. Uh, yeah, you know, let's not forget about this good stuff. let's, let's bring it back and put our own twist on it and see what happens. It's a bit of a gamble. It's a bit of a risk, but I
I
think
mean,
it's.
I think it paid off,
I
frankly.
just think because no one's expecting it, and
Hmm.
I guess it's always a risk, kind of throwing in a left turn like that. But yeah, that's who
Yeah.
we are. We like to be daredevils, really. Have a bit of.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, taking risks and the different types of progressive music, there's always an argument and interesting discussion when it comes to what makes something progressive. One argument is the whole pushing of boundaries and creating new sounds and taking risks, which I think, Haken is always good at doing. But in your opinion, is there anyone, a band or musician, that's really creating something unique and pushing those musical boundaries?
Um, I just think it's important to kind of respect your elders, and tip your hat to the gods, but also move things forward as well. And I think that's what we've done in this one. We never want to make the same record twice either.
Hmm.
Uh, I just think as musicians, we always want our next work to be the best work, and so that in that sense, pushing the boundaries is just something that has to be natural for a musician, and not just rest on your laurels. So I don't know if I answered your question, but that's that's
Well,
where we.
partially. When it comes to looking at your entire discography, the Haken discography, obviously each album does bring a new flavor to the table. Um, how do you feel that Haken has evolved as a band throughout the years?
Yeah, I was just starting to say, we've evolved as our skill sets as the more we go out and play live, the more we improve on our individual instruments. Um, our knowledge around the studio is improving each time. Our ability to grasp a composition and know what's working and when too much is too much um, is we're becoming more focused. I think as composers, and our ability to work as a team is improving as well. So I just think that's evident in each recording. Um, and you're only as good as your last album, I think. So you know, uh, pushing that pushing that envelope each time is something that comes across in our records. I think. I think each time we release one, I'm more proud of it than I have been of the last one before. Um, so that's blowing my own trumpet there, but you know,
Well, how do you
we're reach.
feel?
Go on.
Sorry, continue.
Well, we're reaching bigger audiences each time, and our confidence is growing each time. So that's just wanted to add that. And,
Yeah. Well, how do you feel Affinity is different from previous albums?
just stylistically, I'd say we've taken on a lot more electronic sounds, and our references to 80s bands obviously is a big difference, because we usually tipped our hat to 70s rock in the past. So we just wanted to make that leap and
Right.
see where that took us, you know. And
Awesome.
yeah.
So yeah. So briefly, I'm going to ask you about Einar Solberg, obviously known for his vocals in Leprous and his work with people like Isan, and he appears briefly on Affinity. I think he does a great job. How did that come about?
Well, obviously we've toured with Leprous recently, become good friends with them. We kind of love what they do, and we had this section in The Architect, which kind of warranted, you know, aggressive vocals. We all kind of unanimously agreed that we wanted a guest spot on the album, and it was just perfect marriage, really. We love his harsh vocal style, and you know, the only problem is now I've got to replicate it live. So. He's done a great job, and it sounds awesome on the record, I think.
Yeah, it definitely does.
There's no sour grapes from me or anything, because I did want to do it as well, but I'll get my chance.
Yeah. Okay, well, who would you say, if you had to pick just one, would be your biggest vocal influence?
Undoubtedly, well, there's two, I'd say. As vocally, it would always be like James LeBrie for me, because massive influence on me growing up, and as I started to understand that I was going to be a singer, and Dream Theater were the band I was listening to the most probably at that time. And performance-wise, I'm just a massive Aerosmith fan, and
Oh yeah.
I love Steven Tyler and what he does as a performer on stage. So yeah, if you mix those two together, you kind of get me, I guess.
Okay, well, I mean, how do you keep your vocal chops in shape, especially when you hit the road and start touring?
Yeah, I lay off the alcohol. I warm up daily. I try and keep that up when there's no activity as well. So just a good diet as well, and look after yourself. Loads of cardio. It's important for a singer to stay healthy. For sure.
Definitely is.
And
So,
on the tour bus, I try not to talk too much, because that can really screw me over.
okay, well, speaking of touring, you guys are going to start touring in Europe in May and June. What are you planning after that? Hopefully, we'll see you in North America again.
Yeah. So we're still working out the finer details, but we'll definitely be in the US for September. And we aim to kind of hit a few more different cities than last time. We pretty much just covered East Coast last time we visited, so we're going to try and branch out a bit further west, and yeah, the audiences were awesome on the last US tour we did with Next to None.
Yeah, I remember seeing you in Toronto.
Right. So we're hoping to repeat that, and we'll come up to Canada again as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Is there a specific city or country in general that you guys really love playing in?
We just love to play, to be honest. I mean, German fans have always embraced us from the very beginning, and like I said, we got massive reactions in the US and Canada. And then the home shows in London were also spectacular to play as well. But I couldn't really pinpoint a particular city at this stage in my career. I don't think I visited enough cities. But yeah, we'd love to play it, and I can't wait to come out and play these tracks live as well.
Fantastic. So, just real quick, is there a favorite track you have off of Affinity?
For me personally, 1985 was probably one of my favourites from when we were listening to the demos, and that's still a top one for me. Just because it's of what it is, it's quite unique to hear those sounds today, I think. So big credit to Diego and Ray and Charlie, particularly on that track, for coming up with that. And Bound by Gravity is the ballad, the softer song at the end. I've got a lot of kind of connection with the lyrics on that track, and probably one of my favourite performances of myself as well. So yeah, I'd go with those two.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for talking to me.